And welcome back to another episode, an iteration of Heart of the Cast. Myself and Josh would like to extend our solemnest apologies for taking 2 whole casts off now. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's been 2 busy weeks, but we talked about that at some point that might happen. But we're back and we are here to talk about all the things we've missed and all the things that are coming up.
It's a thing that is just, we had. I'm losing my words now. Sorry, I was train of thought
Did
here.
you ever have a dream where you and then you that?
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's just been really, really busy. I've been particularly stressed out because I've been parenting more often. Since Nora fairly recently went back to work. So I've been taking Noah a couple times a week, which has significantly taken away from my off-stream work, which means, yeah, that's basically my excuse. But anyway, excuses
You know what?
aside.
That's a good excuse, and I'm glad you're here because now we have a good excuse. Because I didn't have one other than it's been busy.
It's been busy. Um. So yeah, anything particularly interesting happening other than the topics we're gonna jump into? Anything special? I haven't been to locals in a while, unfortunately, because it's Ramadan and it's like in the middle of like round one. So I don't want to do that to myself.
That is also fair enough. No, I don't have any crazy story to tell other than the stuff we're going over today. Because it's been just like pretty focused on work recent weeks. You know, been streaming a decent amount. Been out for the Challenger Cup that I casted from the UK. So been busy with that.
Is there a thing tomorrow you're doing?
Tomorrow is tomorrow from the day of recording, not when this drops, but like it's gonna be we'll probably be live while the podcast drops, which is the winter season finals of the Challenger Cup.
Okay, so you're streaming that today in terms of the podcast
Yes,
timing.
I'll be
All right,
streaming
I see.
that tomorrow from when we're recording, and today when you are listening to this on the day it comes out.
Epic. All right. And this is just the standard final of like how Challenger Cup systems work. Because doesn't that have a different name? It's called like Titan or something.
No, that's the Duel of the Titans is the influencer one where they brought a bunch of big content
Oh.
creators that are not Yu-Gi-Oh content creators, and they had them like coached by some Yu-Gi tubers, and now they're playing against each other. I think that's this Sunday.
Oh, is that the NA one?
No,
Oh, is that run by EU as well?
yeah.
You don't seem to know much about this. Are you not involved?
What? No, no. Yes, I am. I am one of the coaches.
Right. Okay.
I am coaching Elizabeth Rose Bloodflame.
Wait, so do you guys get to be with them in like the duel? Or I thought like that
So
was.
as far as I understood, yes, we are supposed to talk to them while they play, but we're not supposed to just sit there and tell them all the things because that's kind of goes against the entire idea of like we taught them how to play the deck somewhat.
Oh, that's just not gonna work, right? Like if you're in the
I
call,
mean,
like
we're gonna have to figure it out, you know. Like if the timer look, if the timer hits 20 seconds and something needs to be done, I'm gonna say what needs to be done. But like, you know,
I feel like that really does take away like the point if you just get to sit in the call, right?
yeah, but that's why we're supposed to not, you know.
Okay, gentlemen's agreement, no coaching. Just may I
It's
remind you,
just
there
like
is a
we're
lingering
supposed.
effect.
I think we're supposed to like point them in the right direction of like when they activate a danger in hand and they have an ash blossom in their hand and they're looking at it and I'm like, what are you looking at? You know, that kind of thing. What are
None,
we thinking about here? You know, like
none, just hanging around.
yeah, exactly. No, I think it's like more is meant to be like that. But yeah, I'm also like curious how that's actually gonna play out.
Okay, fair enough. Sounds exciting. I'll be sure to tune in for that. I'm off all weekend,
Mhm.
so I've been actually watching a lot of WoW content recently because the new season has started. And I guess it'll be cool to check out this thing. We had the Shadow Duelist tournament, I think, last weekend, right? Did you watch any of that?
Did they already reveal the Shadow Duelist?
So I think they played like the tournament is like done. So
Oh, I
now,
thought that was like at the same time. Like they reveal him at the end of the tournament.
yeah. So I think they play a tournament, they find the winner, and then they have another ceremony a couple weeks later where they duel like against the Shadow Duelist.
Oh, okay. So the reveal is later. Well, Chad is saying it was Joe Biden, which is crazy.
That was the reveal. Yeah, true, real.
I mean, he's got to do something now.
That's on the Master Duel side of things. In terms of stuff we've missed, I guess the early days collection was something we all got involved with.
Yeah,
Um,
that was the first week we skipped was when that came out because we
mhm.
both we were thinking about doing it on the Thursday, but then we both wanted to try the early days collection instead, and then we didn't manage to find a different day for the podcast. So that was basically the first thing we missed was right when that came out. And yeah, you've played a bunch of it. How'd you feel about it?
So I tried the 2000 one. Is it Duel? The really like old one, like the Game Boy one. Um,
Mhm.
that one is just ridiculous. Like, let me give you an example of some of the dumb things that happens in this game. Right? If you have
Yeah,
5 cards in your hand and you activate Pot of Greed, what do you think happens?
you draw one.
So in that game, nothing happens. You just put
Oh,
Pot of
okay.
Greed into the graveyard
Okay.
because
So I mean, but that's on you for illegally activating Pot of Greed.
well, the thing is, it's not a legal activation. The game lets you use it, and
Yeah,
then
they
it
all let
goes to
you
the
do.
ground.
They let you do anything, dude. I'm like hovering the menu button thingy in one of the games, and it has the option discard,
Yeah,
and
and
I'm
it
like, what does that do? I click it, and my card's just gone
yeah, it just you can
from
just
the
put.
field. By the way,
Wait, what?
yeah, I discarded it from the field after I summoned it.
Yeah, that's it. It's crazy just how those early games were because it was before the time that there was a structured. Wait, no, did they have rules and stuff? I think they kind of did, but the cards
I
just
mean,
were not
they have a it's like a very rough outline of the rules. It's
because they have
like
tributes. So
there are tributes, but you can also, by the way, in order to tribute summon in one of the games that I was playing, you have to like select the monster on the field first, tribute it, and then go to your hand and then summon out the tribute monster. You can also just tribute your monster whenever you want, even if you don't have a tribute monster in your hand. Like, you just tribute it; it's just gone. Yeah, well done.
so there's a discard and there's a tribute option.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah.
So the point I was making with Pot of Greed is you have 5 cards in hand. You activate Pot of Greed, it goes to the graveyard because you have a 5 card hand limit, right? But you would
Yeah.
think, okay, activate Pot of Greed, I'm down to 4. But no, spells resolve in the hand. Like they just, like, do you know what I mean? Like Pot of Greed sits in your hand, so it counts towards that card advantage.
Oh, I thought it was just it puts you to 4 cards in hand, and you don't have room for 2 more, so it just doesn't
Nope,
work because
nope.
it can't properly.
The
So
Pot of
what
Greed just
happens if
sits
you
in your
have
hand.
4 cards in hand and you activate Pot of Greed? You draw one?
Yeah, yeah. You gotta get your hand advantage down. Gotta set something first.
Mm.
Which also, by the way, I do plan on making a video on this game specifically because of just how ridiculous it is. But you can only have one set spell and trap. So you can set a trap and then you can set another trap. But then that deletes the first trap. It just overrides it. Like
That's funny.
so those games are ridiculous. They are, yeah, definitely a bunch of rules that are not how Yu-Gi-Oh is supposed to be played at all. But some of the more newer ones per se, I played a lot of Seven Trials of Glory or something. I think it's
Mhm.
called. That game was really good. I did enjoy that. I had a great
Yeah.
time.
I also thought my first thing I did was I played the very first one. I don't know if that's the one you just meant, but the oldest one in the collection is the one I booted up first because I just wanted to see what the very first Yu-Gi-Oh game was like, and also I think it was one of the ones that we never had in the West. Like it was a Japan only game, I think.
Yeah, I think that's
Um
the one. Yeah, it's like
yeah,
a
but I
Game
wanted
Boy,
to
right?
try that. Hmm?
It's on Game Boy, right?
I think that's the original Game Boy game, yeah.
Hmm.
And like I just wanted to see how that was. I didn't expect it to be like an actual good game from today's perspective. So I didn't play that one for too long because like immediately like a couple minutes in, I'm just like, yeah, this is just it's interesting to see what kind of games were published back in the day, but I'm not gonna like seriously play this because after a while I'm just gonna like,
Look, man, if you're
yeah.
discarding all your cards like that, it's like playing Runix, you know? Think about it.
It was that. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
So what did
no.
you get onto that you liked?
Yeah, so then the newer the games were, the more I had fun. The one I had probably the most fun with is Dungeon Dice Monsters, which is not the
Oh,
a
you
game where you
played
play the
that?
card game. I played it.
Oh,
I like it. I liked it, and I saw you on stream just opening that game, realizing it had different rules, and immediately closing it, which is
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I didn't even want to engage with it because it's like
Just like. What do you mean I need to understand what's going on here? No, I'm out.
Okay, so I get the idea of playing a Yu-Gi-Oh game that isn't Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's just the aesthetic and stuff. And I played a decent
Yeah.
amount of Duelist of the Rose, which I quite enjoyed. But then I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I gotta learn this like other rule set. So it's like I have to like sit
Yeah.
down, learn this like how this game functions, and then
Yeah.
play it. When I'm just like, I kind of just wanted to play old Yu-Gi-Oh, right? So
Okay.
that's kind
Yeah,
of what I
that's
was
fair.
more in the mood for. But
Yeah.
some people love it. Simo was all up in Dungeon Dice, like he was well prepared. He's got a video on it and
Yeah.
stuff. So I mean, I see the appeal. It just wasn't for me personally.
I thought it was very fun. I also had to like go through the process of like, the first game, like remembering all the rules and like chat telling me exactly what works what way. But then once I got into it, I thought it was very fun, and I was really sad that it was not it didn't have an online mode. At least not yet. I don't know if they're adding more in the future, but at the
Good
moment there's
lord.
only one game with an online mode.
Yeah, speaking of online mode, I keep remembering the absolute disaster that is the duel. What's the Game Boy game called, chat, that we're talking about? Duel Monsters 1, I think it's just called Duel Monsters. So you queue into online mode. By the way, you queue in, no one's there, no one's playing. There's no queue, right? Because it's a dead game. No one's playing online. It's terrible.
It
Eventually,
just came out. You did this like 2 hours after it released.
what do you mean? It just came out. Yeah, like there should be thousands of people. That's like the most likely time to find players. So the game just came out.
Yeah.
No one's queuing. Eventually, someone queues. Obviously, because it's from my stream, right? So I'm just getting stream sniped because haha, it'd be funny to play against Farfa. There
Yeah.
is no punishment or for griefing. You can sit, join a game, AFK, nothing happens. It's not like Master. You don't time out. You can just grief
Okay.
people.
Yeah, dude. Yes, that is funny and that is crazy. At the same time, I feel like it's not meant to be that serious. Like this is the kind of thing where you're just like, you hit up a friend and you're like, "Are you playing Earliest Collection?" They're like, "Yeah, let's play an online game together." I don't know. It's yeah,
And then
yeah.
eventually I did get a real game, and I played
Yeah.
against Quantum Cube. Shout out to Quantum Cube. The Rush Duel world champion played against me.
Oh, did you beat him?
No, unfortunately not, because that's
Damn it.
where. So here's another dumb thing. I thought, because if you've ever played Forbidden Memories,
No.
so in Forbidden Memories, I'm pretty sure that you draw to 5 cards in your draw phase. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know why, but that's just how that game works. Because the idea is you keep fusing your hand without polymerization. That's a whole other mechanic I don't need
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
into.
yeah.
Yeah, so you draw to 5 to your next draw phase. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I assume this game works the same. Turn 1, set a card, normal summon a monster. Discard 4, next turn. I don't draw. Like, why it didn't work? it was a disaster.
My game bug. Speaking of fusion mechanic, there was one game that also is supposed to have the fusion mechanic. I don't know which one it is.
Is it a
But my
Reshef?
chat,
Isn't that the one you played?
no, Reshef does not have it.
Oh, doesn't it? Oh, it's got type
There,
advantages though, right?
yes,
Okay,
dude,
okay, okay.
Reshef. Well, we'll talk about Reshef in a second. But
we'll get onto Reshef. I have some business with that game.
dude, that game is crazy. But I don't know which game we're talking about right now, but there was one game where my chat was telling me, yeah, you can combine monsters in your hand to create a fusion monster, and that's like the only way you can beat like I had an opponent where it's straight up they just turn one summon a monster that was bigger than all the cards that I had in my hand and probably all the cards that were in my deck. So what they told me is like it was one of those games where you only have one action per turn. Like you can only summon a
Action?
monster, or like summon one and set one. Like you
Okay,
can't do
okay,
more than
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
And
that
so what
sounds
they
familiar.
told me is like the fusioning two monsters in your hand together.
Hmm.
Two things about it. It takes up your action of the turn, so you have to wait a turn to summon the monster after you've fused it together in your hand.
Wait,
Um,
what? Oh, so you fuse it and then it goes to your
it's in your
hand?
hand. Yes, it's in your hand.
I add
And
Mirror Jade from my extra deck to my
yeah,
hand.
and it gets better. You can attempt fusing two monsters together, whichever one you want, but
I know what you're gonna say. I
you're
know what you're
not
gonna say.
guaranteed. It's not guaranteed to work. it's not guaranteed to work because you don't know what kind of cards go with each other. You can just try, and if it doesn't work, guess what? You just lost one card in your hand because you just put one of them on top of the other in your hand. And if it doesn't work, the bottom card just disappears. It's just gone.
Yeah, I think that's how it works in Forbidden Memories, because each card has like a star sign, and then those signs mix together, but some of them don't work, so it just deletes them. Like, you just, fusion failed, I guess. Like, it's so
Yeah, but the thing
good.
is, you lose the card and you lose your action for the turn. You can't spend another.
How does it take up your action?
I tried fusing in my hand for 5 turns in a row because I couldn't beat their normal summon on turn 1 until I died, and none of them worked.
Oh my god. Did you make a video on this at all?
I don't think so, no.
What is wrong with you? You need to get someone to go make a VOD highlight. That sounds insane. Holy crap. Yeah, wow. Those early fusion mechanics are terrible. And yeah, okay, go on. Tell us about your Reshef incident.
Okay, so I'm asking at some point. I'm getting out of one of those games. I don't know which ones it is. Either I had a bad time like the one I just described, or I had a good time with Dungeon Dice and I decided to move on. And I'm asking like, hey, what should we do next? And Chad's like, oh, you should play Reshef of Destruction. That's like the best game in there easily. I'm like, all right, let's boot up Reshef of Destruction. I start the game, and I go into like the first game. So I don't know which one the first opponent was, and it's just like they summon a 500 monster, and I'm like, okay, cool, that's chill. I summon a 600 monster. I attack it. My monster explodes for no reason. And so my chat thinks that's now an appropriate time to tell me about the fact that this game has like rock paper scissors attributes where like no matter how big your monster is, if your opponent has the one type that beats it, your monster will just explode. And so
Wait, so how does it work? Is it like Catastor, or is it like, because I thought it was like a 500 stat
no,
advantage
they
you
just
gain.
like a 50 attack monster beats a 2000 attack monster. It does not matter. It just gets destroyed.
Wow, okay. And that's just a chart you have to like memorize at
There's a
some
chart.
point.
Yeah, there's a chart for it.
Is it
But
complicated?
I mean, there's like 9 types,
Okay,
and you
and then
just
all
gotta
of
remember,
the
like, the circle,
a lot of them
essentially.
make sense as well, I suppose, right? I think like dark beats light and water beats fire and stuff like that.
It's like there's like a couple ones that don't exist in actual Yu-Gi-Oh! So it's like you've got your natural like water beats fire, fire beats grass, and so on and so forth. But there's also like instead of just dark, there's like shadow, and there's
Mm.
dream, and
Dream.
and fiend is also one of the attributes, which ends up being a type in Yu-Gi-Oh! But like it's like light beats fiend, uh shadow beats light, dream beats shadow, and fiend beats dream, I think. Is that circle.
Yeah, like you get fiends in your dreams, and then the shadow covers the light. Like, yeah, that makes sense, kind of.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay, so type advantages away aside.
Yeah. So the thing is that the thing about Reshef of Destruction is that it's just insanely hard for no reason. And when I say hard, it's not the kind of hard where you can get good at it. Like it's not hard in the sense that like it requires a lot of skill. The game is just incredibly rigged against you. Like I walked. The first thing I did was like I don't know, walk to the bottom right corner after I've beaten one NPC, and there's like a little cutscene that plays with like Rebecca talking to Kaiba, and like she's telling him like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat you up or something," and he's like, "No, you got to beat Josh first." And I'm like, "What do I have to do with all this?" But okay, I'll play against Rebecca, and the first thing that happens is like she summons something with 900 attack, and I look at my hand, and it's like they all got 600. None of them has 900.
Mm.
And there's not enough depth in this game to be like I'm outplay Rebecca with her 900 attack vanilla monster because my hand's like all 600 attack vanilla monsters. So I'm looking over at the type chart, and I'm checking if I got anything that can just destroy her thing. I don't have it, so I just set a monster and I pass, and then eventually I do draw a monster that attacks her 900 attack monster and just destroys it because I have a type advantage. But then
Okay.
I realize if my entire deck is weaker than her deck, I can never win. I can never do damage because the best thing I can hope for is having an answer to her monster and attack it. But then the monster next to it is going to run over my monster.
Okay.
So it's just not possible to beat Rebecca at the start. The only solution to this, by the way, is you have to end up that literally step one when you want to play through Reshef of Destruction is what my chat told me is you have to farm NPCs like Tristan, because Tristan's deck's just garbage. Uh,
Naturally.
you have to farm Tristan about like 800 times to get the proper cards to actually beat like Rebecca and really progress in the story, because it's like so difficult to get new cards and also be able to put them in their deck, because Reshef of Destruction has two things that stop you from putting cards into your deck.
Wait,
Well,
so
three.
how does it work? First of all, you play against Tristan, you beat him. Would you get like a random card? Do you get a
There's an
currency?
anti-system. In every game there's an anti-system. You have to put up
Okay,
one of your cards. If you win, you get one of theirs. If you lose the card you put up for anti.
right.
So, um the other thing is, in Reshef, you can't put every single card you have just in your deck. Your deck has a limit to it, and it's like that limit goes up gradually. Like
Hmm.
let's say you start with a limit of 200, and every card has a value. Like if the card is
Oh,
very
right.
strong,
Hmm.
if the card is very strong, it has like it costs a lot more. It takes up more space in your deck essentially,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So like
yeah.
I don't know. For example, you start with a duelist level of like I think it's like 100 or something, and you can put cards into your deck up to like a total of a cost of 500 or something. If like Pot of Greed has a cost of 200, it'll take up a significant amount of your deck, and you
Yeah.
can't put up that many good cards. And then the second thing is you can only play cards that are under your duelist level. Like if a card has a cost of 150 and your duelist level is 100, you just can't play that card. It's not possible. You can't put it in your deck yet. And so the problem with Reshef of Destruction is that in order to get that stuff, it just takes forever. You win one duel, it increases your deck capacity by one. And
Okay.
these cards take up like a monster, for example, a monster with 1200 attack takes up over 120 in terms of like deck capacity.
So what's like
So
your base deck capacity, like near the start?
I don't know what the number is, but your deck is basically just 500 attack on average, and nothing is bigger than like 600
Yeah.
is what you
I mean,
start with.
it's just very like early 2000s, right? It's like no,
Yeah.
not a lot of games were like hard
No,
per
I mean
se.
it's like fine. The thing is, I got told after I was done with the frustrating experience that Reshef was, because I thought like the first hour of me just being like desperate at it was kind of fun, at least for people that were watching. But like eventually, I just realized, okay, this is not actually hard. It's just you have to grind like this Tristan dude like 800 times. I'm not gonna do that now. Because that's where the content stops being fun. That's where we just sit here and spam an NPC until we can actually beat the first story thingy. So um yeah, the I got told why it's like that. It's because the game before that is the Sacred Cards, which has the exact same concept, and it even plays in the exact same world and setting. It's just a slightly different story, but it has the exact same system.
Hmm.
And Sacred Cards, I played Sacred Cards after, like off stream. I just played it because I wanted to see if it really was that different. Sacred Cards is just so easy because it just gives you proper deck capacity and proper like like progression. Like when you beat an NPC in the Sacred Cards, your deck capacity goes up by 10. And
Hmm.
in Reshef they put it down to 1 because they felt like Sacred Cards was too easy. And then in Sacred Cards, if you win a duel, you win like 5,000 of the currency, and you can buy like 3 new cards from the shop. In Reshef, you get like 50, and the cards cost like 5,000. Which is
Yeah.
why I also crashed out at freaking Solomon Muto in the shop and called him a scammer because he's buying my cards for $50 but wants 5,000 for him.
I mean, that's the whole like concept of these early 2000s game. I feel like they a lot of them were just like not hard. They were just long and tedious, and
Yes,
they just like needed a
yes.
lot of grinding.
Dude,
Like,
and then there's Herman in my chat telling me like, "Oh, what's wrong? I beat this game when I was 8." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, dude. Good, cool thing you had like 58 hours time when you were 8 years old."
listen,
And
when
then
someone who's like still playing RuneScape to this day, like you understand the type of personality it requires to play these games, right? Like
bro,
that's who it's
Herman
made for. Like clicking on a
Herman was
tree
like,
and fishing is the same as playing Reshef.
yeah. And Herman's like, "Here, there's a machine next to Yugi's grandpa where you can put in those card codes that they have at the bottom left, and you can unlock that card. Here, take this code. It should help you." So I go to this machine, right? And I type in this code because this is a system I'm familiar with. A lot of games had that back in the day where you can put in the
Mhm.
code number. So I put in the code. It says like, oh, you want to pay 1,000 domino, which is the currency to unlock this code, to redeem this code. I'm like, okay, that's like 20 games of grinding, but sure, I'll pay 1,000 for the code. And it I unlocked the card, and it's like this like, I forgot what the card was. I think ancient hourglass or something. I don't know what the card was, but it pops up on screen. I'm like, okay, I read it, it's solid. I press A, it continues, right? I go to my oh, ancient lamp, not ancient hourglass. It's like ancient lamp. It's like 900 attack, but it summons genie of the lamp, which is really broken because it's 1800.
Mm.
So I
It is just Lajin, right?
Lajin, yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I go through my collection. I'm like, where's Mystic Lamp? Where is it? And my chat is like, oh, you have to buy it from the shop. You have to go to Grandpa and buy it. Yeah, I'm like, I just paid 1,000 for that. So I go to Grandpa, I look at the shop. The card costs like, I don't, to 20,000 or something. I have no money left because I sold all my cards to be able to pay 1,000 at the machine.
Go
So I can't
go.
afford it. I can't buy it. And the funniest thing of all, well, not that funny actually, if you think about it, I couldn't even legally play it in my deck because it was like 10 times my duelist level because it was
Oh
way
my
too good for where I'm at.
god. So even if you went and killed Tristan 50 times, you just couldn't
I
even
had to
play it
kill
anyway.
Tristan like 2,000 times to be able to afford and play that card. So I look at chat. I'm mad. I look at Herman's chat log, and his chat log is just like, he tells me the password, and then like 30 seconds later, he's like, "Oh, by the way, that password I sent earlier, don't use it." And then when I'm going to use it, his chat log is just like, "Oh no, stop, 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 stop." Don't tell me.
What does the password do?
The password is the one that unlocks the card.
Okay, so it wastes your currency basically.
I mean, he told me, "Hey, go and use that
Yeah,
password," and then he told me, "Oh
yeah,
no, I was joking. Stop, 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 stop. Oh 07." Oh, that was his chat log.
yeah. Stop, stop, stop. Oh 07 is a great like last words.
Yeah. And then proceeds on telling me like, "Oh, I beat this when I was 8 years old. I don't know what your issue is." I'm like, "Oh, maybe the issue is I just wasted all my money and time on the card that I can't afford and play."
Kill issue for sure.
Well, yeah.
So the early days collection is absolutely a great blast from the past. Gonna be honest, nowhere near worth 55 quid for what is essentially a glorified emulator. Did you see the Dark Spellion incident?
I was watching your stream when that happened, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So for anyone who is wanting some context, if you remember the Dark Spellion stuff from back in Master Duel, it's because they literally just Google translated Dark Magician, and magic, IAN, translated as just spell, magic spell, right? If you transliterate it in some way from Japanese. So the game just has
Oh,
spelling
you don't
mistakes.
no, I don't think that's the reason.
Isn't it? I'm pretty sure that's why.
I think the reason is at some point, I think it's a coding issue because they had to change magic to spell because of Magic the Gathering. And so I think what they did is they went just they just the way they coded it was just like, "Hey, go through all of the Yu-Gi-Oh cards texts and change the words magic to spell."
And they just forgot every card name with the word magic in the name.
And that's why it changed Dark Magician because it has the word magic in it to Dark Spellion because it replaced magic to spell.
Oh my god. That they just control F'd magic and then just didn't
Yeah,
change.
exact. That I think that's what happened.
It's crazy. Like what the hell?
Because I don't think Google Translate would give you that because spellion is not a word, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. So it was a great time. I don't regret buying it because I mean I just think it's like good content as a content creator. But I think if I was just playing Yu-Gi-Oh, like I'm not paying that much money for that. Like
I
that's
think it needs that sort of nostalgic factor to it when you want to, like, if you played those games as a child, I think you'll find it fun. I think from modern perspective, of course, those games don't hold up super well. And I think that's like that with a lot of older games. Like a lot of older games, you'll replay them and you'll be like, "Hey, why was that so good when we were 8 years old? Why do we remember these so fondly?" And I think if you show someone else a game that they never played and they don't have that nostalgic connection to, they will just be like, "Yeah, why would I do this to myself? Why wouldn't I just play a modern game?"
It's like playing like all the like old Pokemon games like as an adult. Like you go back and it's like I mean
Yeah.
they're not really that in depth. It's not super exciting gameplay. Like a lot of it is just
Yeah, like the
grinding to.
very first Pokemon games, you can replay them for nostalgia factor, but just from a gameplay perspective, like they're just not that good from today's perspective.
Yeah. But I mean, it is what it is, right? Because like when you're a child, like it's fine. Like you have time on your hands. The challenge in and of itself is a simple challenge where it's just patience is mostly the challenge. And I think that's it's a good thing, you know. They worked out really well and were popular for reasons in our generation. Like for those reasons. It's just like yeah, for sure. Like definitely not something I would play today or buy today.
Yeah. Also, chat, yes, the Pokemon games hold up better, but they're still not good compared to modern games. Like if you replay like when I replayed Pokemon, they re-released Pokemon Yellow on like the DS at some point, and I downloaded it and I played it. I played it all the way through. I had a good time, but damn was I annoyed by the fact you couldn't press B to run faster. Like
Yeah, a lot of
holy.
quality of life stuff you miss out on as the new generations progress is definitely huge.
It's just when once you get used to something better, it's hard to just go back. You know, like it's just better games existed later for Yu-Gi-Oh as well, and so going back to the ones that were still like the very early days, is
Mhm.
rough.
But that's the thing though. It's like it's always like the middle point I feel like is really good, right? Because if you go back and play like I don't know, maybe like some of the Gen 3 games and stuff, like I feel like those are
Mhm.
great games. And for like
Yeah.
and Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like I feel like if you go to the old Yu-Gi-Oh games, like they're not very fun. But if you play like Tag Force, like insanely good game.
Oh
World
yeah. Also
Championship
the World
2010.
Championship games, like
Yeah.
I was really hoping that or I'm hoping they do more like nostalgia related stuff, that if they release like the 2007 through whatever when they stopped doing those world championship games, I thought they were so fun.
Yeah, for sure. And
But that's also because you just play actual Yu-Gi-Oh in those games. Like it's just like just putting down vanillas and seeing who has the bigger number is ultimately not that fun.
it is just how the gameplay loop is, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on from the early days, I suppose.
Mhm.
We can. What do we want to go with next? We could talk about TCG. We could talk about Macedo. Should we talk about new
Uh
cards,
let
maybe?
let's start. I mean, we can do both. Let's start with why don't we start with Master Duel? Because that also has gotten some new cards since we've last podcasted, I think.
So I suppose like the biggest thing is Blue Eyes. Did we talk about Blue Eyes before?
I think that's the pack we missed. Yeah, I think we've podcasted after Fiendsmith for sure, but
Mm-hmm.
we did not cover the latest hack that is basically now putting us into this situation where we know exactly what's legal for the Duelist Cup now, and the latest pack gave us not that much relevant stuff.
Yeah,
But
I
this
think.
year's Blue Eyes,
Yeah, Blue Eyes is huge, and Seven Tachyon is nice. I guess we can just probably deep dive into Blue Eyes first of all. Good deck, you
yeah,
know, strong, decent. Primite missing is rough, obviously, but I think
mhm.
the deck has more than enough like legs on its own to like be a
Very
master
very fun.
contending deck.
Yeah. I just I like Blue Eyes because I really the the gameplay loop of Blue Eyes I think is really fun. Where it's a really solid mid-range deck that really aims to create powerful follow-up. It has like continuous effects that'll give you more and more value over turns over multiple turns. And its end board setup, like no matter which way you look at Blue Eyes, it's like the end board is always just fine. It's never completely broken. It always aims to play a longer and grindy game with relatively fair interruptions, all things considered. I mean, one of the spirit tags out into an Omni, I suppose, is like probably as annoying as it gets with Blue Eyes, but for the most part, I've just been enjoying Blue Eyes all the way through, with the little downside that it just like plays a lot of bricks, which can lead to some frustrating situations where you draw True Light, Blue Eyes, Field Spell kind of stuff. Outside of that, I find it very enjoyable.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, and one of the pleasant surprises I got was I would never replace Primite with Neo Kaiser, but it's was a surprisingly very strong normal summon. Like the
Yes, yeah,
ability to chain block your Link 1 is pretty
hmm
huge.
hmm
Uh dumping Jet Dragon is nice. Like I don't think people typically play Jet Dragon in TCG, but in Macedo,
no,
Jet Dragon has been really popular because you kind of just have to play Neo Kaiser as your normal summon,
mm.
and Jet Dragon is a beast. Like it's really good. I've been having a lot of fun
It's
with
a
it.
pretty solid card. If you get to those grindy game states, then Jet Dragon is very powerful. And yeah, Neo Kaiser Seahorse is also a card that's basically completely overlooked for us in the TCG because we have a better dragon normal summon, but it's I mean it's a new support card. It was designed to do exactly what it does, which is like one card combo into your Spirit Dragon, and it does do that well. So
I guess like basic question: do you think it's like DC Cup viable?
um Pretty pretty sure the answer to that is no, which brings me to why I think like you said earlier, even before we started podcasting, that like them releasing Blue Eyes right now makes a lot of sense because we have like we're celebrating anniversary and everything. From that perspective, I agree, but I do find the timing of this a little weird in the sense that we're just dropping Blue Eyes casually before the Primate cards are out, so it's not even close to full potential. We're also dropping it when the format is basically at its highest power level it's been at and is going to be at for a long time. Like we're dropping it into full power, like just released Fiendsmith with Beatrice as Amina, Millennium plus like Doomed Dragon in it, like Snake Eyes, White Forest, Ubel, Tenpai format. And Blue Eyes just does not compete with that. Like there is, from a competitive perspective, not much reason to play Blue Eyes right now. It's not that much better into like cards like Bistials or Maxi or Fuvalos or Ghost Ogre, which is all cards that people are playing right now, or Droll and Lockbird. Like all those cards are solid against Blue Eyes still. It's not like you're dodging people's non-engine by playing Blue Eyes. You're not playing a more powerful deck. You're not even playing less bricks than Snake Eyes. You got the same amount of bricks for instead of ending on like everything you want, you end on Seal's Spirit Dragon if everything goes well.
Wait, so where are you going with this? Like, so you think there's a reason for that,
No,
or
I think it's weird. I think it's weird to
okay?
release Blue Eyes right now when it's like so clearly underpowered compared to what the format is.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe I guess I suppose it just means they don't have to hit it for a while, and then Primite comes out, and then when all of these current best decks are hit, Blue Eyes becomes
Yeah,
dominant,
I just think
and then
they
it.
I think they took it and they wanted it to release sooner because they wanted to release it with the anniversary, which
Mhm.
I think is fine. I mean, there's still enough people excited about Blue Eyes, but I
Yeah.
do think that there was a chance for them to release Blue Eyes and have it be not only hype because people like Blue Eyes, but also hype because it could have genuinely been one of the best decks in the format, like it is in the TCG right now. Like Blue Eyes is probably like third most played deck now in the TCG, and that's not just because bad chess Blue Eyes, but also because it's actually good.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. My biggest frustration is the fact that they clearly do have the capability of releasing new cards, but won't on a for whatever reason, and what the schedule
You
is,
mean
I
like
don't
the
know.
fact that the release schedule is so like off
Yeah,
sometimes?
like we got Blue Eyes in TCG, and I'm pretty sure it was like 2 weeks later it was in Macedo, like after the structure deck. So
Almost simultaneously, yeah.
it's yeah, it's really frustrating, I suppose. And I think on the opposite end of that, we've got Memento, which is still missing Ugly Fish, like you mentioned. Like, I don't care about Memento. I don't think that deck is interesting. I think playing like 5 or 4 hard garnets is miserable. I don't want to play something like that, but people clearly love that deck, and I get it. Why is that deck not out yet? Like, it's.
Is that at this point the oldest card that we don't have yet? And don't tell me Airneos, but like, what's like the oldest card from that we're still not caught up with yet? Like, what's the oldest set?
We're missing Centurions, apparently.
Yeah, but I think Memento is older than that. But I'm not sure
Goblin
about that
Biker
actually.
stuff, apparently.
Uh,
But yeah, it's a while, and I don't know what the reasoning is. Like, is it being saved for something? Who knows?
I, I mean, but like at the same time, it's not even like because Memento is out, right? It's not like they can have like a new pack and announce Memento as the big thing for it because it's like missing what like the fish one of the one of the fusions or something that doesn't make for a great like pack teaser or whatever. Like here's ugly fish.
So are you planning on doing the Duelist Cup?
Uh,
Okay, well,
I'm,
clearly the answer is no. If you aren't even like, that should
no,
be a
okay.
solid yes or no at this
I
point.
look. I'm hesitant after what happened last time because last time kind of forced myself to do it because I didn't even question it. I was like, yeah, of course I'm gonna do it. You know, it's like it was the first Duelist Cup that I try harded again because it was the first one that I wasn't already qualified for Worlds, so I was just like obviously gonna try hard it, and I never even questioned it, and that led to me being miserable because I just didn't like the format. And so for this one, I told myself like I want to try hard. It is the goal to try hard, but I'm only gonna do it if I find a deck I'm comfortable with. Because that I think was the thing last time is I wasn't well prepared, and therefore I just a lot of frustration happened because I didn't know like is it maybe the deck, is my list not optimal, I'm switching between games and stuff like that, it's just like not great. And so for this one I'm currently in the process of determining for myself if one of these decks that are good enough to do well are something that I vibe with. um because even Snake Eyes is a deck that I don't love the current Master Duel format. I think it's gonna get a lot better once Snake Eyes, Azamina, and like Tenpai rotate out a little more. But like playing the Snake Eye deck myself was not nearly as miserable as it was as like playing Tenpai, for example, for me is.
I concur. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Do you want to talk about it all, like what you're considering, or you want to keep that on the down low for
No,
now?
we can talk about it. I think there's very little reason to play anything. Like if I'm gonna take this seriously, I'm probably gonna have to end up being happy with playing either White Forest or Snake Eyes. The only other deck that I've tried in recent weeks that I felt like maybe had something to it is like if everyone else is playing Snake Eye and White Forest, maybe I'll end up playing or preparing like one of the like super hand trap heavy decks, basically the equivalent to the TCG's Kashtira Fiendsmith that we brought out for YCS Bologna because it beat like Snake Eye decks with that many hand traps. I was trying to look for that because I was experimenting with decks that have like very very high hand trap counts to just not get comboed on. Those decks were pretty bad into Tenpai though, so it would be something that I would have to like prepare, have it ready, and if I notice, oh, at the moment there's no Tenpai running around, then I'll just like play a deck with a lot of hand traps. So basically, that would be my preferred plan: is like find the best deck essentially, which is either White Forest or Snake Eye. I'm pretty sure, and then also have a hand trap deck ready that I can queue if I find like everyone else is just doing Snake Eyes at the moment.
Yeah, makes sense. I just think if you're playing something like Snake Eye, you're just kind of like playing Go Fish. I think at a high enough level, right? Like if you're both competent at
Kind
the
of.
combo, if you're both
Yeah.
competent at the combos and stuff, it's just like, ugh, I don't know.
Yeah, but you can win at Go Fish, and you are always like the thing is, even if a lot of people are playing Snake Eyes, there's always going to be people that are going to mess things up and maybe have a slightly worse list, or you're going to play against people that are not on Snake Eyes, and you can really capitalize on that. Even if you go 50-50 against like the good Snake Eye duelists, you can probably gain some percentages in the other matches, and then overall, it's probably okay. But like that's the thing. If I go into this Duelist Cup and I have like a Snake Eye list that I'm like 100% confident in, and I know my play with it is going to be good because I've practiced, and then it doesn't end up working out because like luck is just not there for me, then that's okay for me personally. More so than I don't know what I'm supposed to play. I'm not confident that any of these decks are actually a good pick, and then every second game is a 10 pie game kind of experience. Is that I feel like that's different to me. Hopefully,
Yeah, I might
but
hop on and stream a little bit or something, but I don't really have any interest in playing this Duelist Cup. It's
that's the alternative. Like if I just don't feel like tryharding, then I won't. I'll just play maybe the first or second day, and then maybe for some reason when I'm playing relaxed and like no delay and it's still somewhat going well, then maybe I can like turn into like a more grindy mood on like the second or third day. But it depends. Basically, is what I'm saying. Like I'm not done preparing. I'm not done testing or finding a deck for it. But if I do, then I'll end up trying.
for me personally, I generally think that Macedon is in the worst like format it's been in ever. I think, right? Like I don't know, the first format ever of Macedon was pretty terrible, but Macedon was fresh and new enough to
Mm,
enjoy. I feel at the time, but we've been playing Macedon for a while now, and like Bualos, when you're playing Snake Eye plus Maxi, playing as Tenpai, as just everything feels bad right now. Like nothing feels
the
like
yeah,
fun or
the overall
interactive.
it's It's not great. I don't love it either. I personally think Tenpai full power format was worse. Um, but I do think
But that's the
I've
thing,
made
though, because Tenpai is a little worse right now, which makes it kind of better in some way. Because I think that thing you said always sticks with me when I think about Tenpai. It's like Tenpai doesn't
mhm.
want to be the best deck, so that's when it's worse to play against because you aren't kind of really preparing for it. So it feels way worse to lose
Yeah.
to it.
In an extent, to an extent, yes. Tenpai's position is not that bad because people expect it less at the moment. But at the same time, you're going to play against Tenpai a lot less, and that's good. Um, it's I get it. I don't think this format right now is particularly good either. I told people recently is that at the moment in Yu-Gi-Oh we are in this kind of situation where people are when your friend starts watching an anime and they don't like it and you just have to tell them like, oh, but trust me, after this season it gets good. Like after after you've been through season 2, like after Skypiea or whatever, like then trust me, dude, you just have to sit through it. That's what Yu-Gi-Oh is in right now. All right, like we just got to get through Snake Eye Tenpai, Azamina, you know, and then it'll get good.
I'm just like, what's next, right? I'm pretty sure they have to like gut these decks soon and then just
Yeah,
bring us Malice Rizio, right?
Ryziel, Malice, Primite, and stuff like that. And even if I personally don't like Malice, it's so much better than what we have right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. Interesting to see how the hand traps coincide with that as well. But I just wonder what they'll do after the DC Cup, man. Like this
We just
version.
have to get through Snake Eye times as we did with the TCG. We have healed, and it's getting better at the moment. We will with Master Duel. It's just we are going through the same process in Master Duel. We're just a couple months late, and we will get through it, and then it'll be okay. But right now, it's a little rough. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not looking forward to Mermel in Best of One. Actually, now
But
that
there's no Toad.
oh, true, yeah, no
That
Toads.
does unironically make it better. Like, we can talk about the TCG in a second. I don't know if you've made a balance prediction yet or whatever, but we can talk about that a little bit. But
No, no, no
Toad,
whatsoever. I'm kind of out of TCG right now,
yeah,
but
I figured, yeah. But
y-
Toad was one of the things I was thinking about in my balance discussion for Mermail. So I do think not having it's kind of a big deal.
mhm.
At the same time, you are right. Mermail is one of the decks that kind of thrives in best of one because you're just not getting Dweller blind very often. Um, so that could be a big deal.
Mm.
The same is true for Malice though, because ain't no one gonna play Lancia in best of one.
What do you even do with Mermel without Toad?
I guess yeah, we do some hand looping.
I guess, yeah,
We
true.
do some deep sea minstrel, know all the cards in their hand, and then we Mulling Glacier 2 away, and then we still have disruption. We got like pops and bounces and whatever.
Mhm.
And then we know exactly what we need to bounce because we've looked at their hand. So it's still pretty good.
Fair enough. Hand loop with Trishula. God,
Oh
that's
yeah, they can trish too. Yeah.
this sounds so unfun. Like,
It is. I will never forgive them for what they did to one of my favorite decks of all time in like 2013 Mermail. And they just made Neptibus, and ever since it's just downhill.
yeah. Oh, you can turbo barrier statue in that deck as well, can't you?
Oh yeah, that's fun. Yeah.
I don't know, like, why the like solution to a lot of legacy support is just give him some floodgates. Like, what is this? Like,
Okay, the floodgate was there, but way before.
wait,
The barrier statues came out in 2006.
yeah, but like, you can't consistently tutor them in a combo deck.
How
That's
does it
it.
tutor them now? Isn't it a sea serpent?
I don't even remember, but I'm pretty sure there's a way to get to like a barrier statue in Mermail.
Well, if it's a sea serpent, dragoons can just search it. I don't know if it's a
Uh,
sea serpent or an aqua.
who knows? Um,
Maybe it's
but
aqua.
But anyway, so yeah, should we continue with Masto? Do you want to jump to TCG?
I mean, what else is there about Master Duel? Like, yeah, it's we've got Duelist Cup second stage coming up. Snake Eyes Millennium is the best deck. Oh, I guess Millennium is worth mentioning because I think one of the main
I love
story
those cards. Oh
lines,
my god.
yeah, like one of the main storylines of recent weeks for me personally is how there's been a huge shift from everyone playing Azamina cards in their Snake Eye decks and even their White Forest decks to now everyone, it feels like, is on the Millennium train.
Mm.
Um, because people have realized how good those cards are in terms of getting your plays started, protecting your plays, and also like pivoting, creating the bodies you need to pivot into the Fiendsmith engine. And I think something that really helps here is the fact that like we didn't have Snake Eyes Doomed Dragon in the TCG when those cards first dropped. And so
Mm.
while some decks used them as an engine, no one really utilized them to full potential. And in Master Duel, I really underestimated how good the Snake Eyes Doomed Dragon is in that deck because like just getting a random level 8 body out of nowhere with so much synergy between Snake Eye, Fiendsmith, and Millennium. Because like the Millennium cards can be used for it, the Snake Eyes in the spell trap zone can be used for it, the Fiendsmith equips can be used for it. Like you equip a Requiem to an Engraver and have a leftover Sengenjin in your spell trap zone, you just make Doom Dragon. It's so good. So it's just turned that way that like everyone is playing that engine right now.
Well, I don't actually know too much about how it works in Snake Eye specifically.
Mm.
I've personally been using it as extenders in Tier Limit, and it's been so powerful because literally a Sengenjin gets you into Zombie Vampire, which is obviously
Mm.
cracked already, and then
Yeah.
from there you go into your Fiendsmith engine,
Yeah.
into Sequence, and then Beatrice, and then you just fuse. So
Yep.
just this one card extender in Tier Limit gives you so much, and I've been really
Yeah.
enjoying it. And I
Yeah.
guess
And
it
all
sounds
that
like
is just
it's
all that is one card, and you give no draws to Fuva with the Millennium cards. Like you would if they, but they have to like Fuva you on an open game state, and then you get to decide, do I want to commit or do I just want to pass and give them 0 draws and stuff like that. It's pretty good.
yeah. I think they're gonna hit those cards, honestly. Like after this Duelist Cup, if it really ends up that
Oh,
these
the
are
Exodia players are gonna go crazy though. What do you mean I can't play 57 cards for consistency to not draw the Exodia pieces anymore because I just won't draw my 1/0 Sengenjin?
yeah, like Limit Sengenjin or something is absolutely on the cards, man. Like it's so strong. But I don't know. I think like if you like ban Beatrice, which I has to happen, surely, right? We all keep
Yeah.
saying it, but
No,
that's probably
100%.
gonna happen.
Is it
I
banned in the OCG? Please tell me.
think so, yeah.
Please tell me it is. It has to be.
Like we just have Beatrice legal with Sprite Elf. You just can't have that type of combination.
Dude, it's Beatrice. They can revive anything, man. They can revive the White Forest deck can start with the Fiendsmith card. Like it's so criminal to even say it out loud. Like the way they do it is like Fiendsmith into Beatrice, send a Stellar into Elf, revive a Stellar, and even if you don't have a spell trap to send for a Stellar, you bring back Engraver, you equip Sequence from the graveyard to
Oh,
it, and
that's
then you
funny.
send the Sequence from the spell trap zone for the Stellar. It's actually like the one card full White Forest combo without even needing a spell trap for the deck that's all about sending spell traps.
Or a normal summon. Like it's just so
It's
good.
so criminal. It's so criminal. And then the same is true for Snake Eye. You just replace the Sprite Elf with the Promethean Princess, and you've got a starter that can also be an extender that can also make Appaloosa before you start playing. Like it's just basically the entire the exact same talk we've had in the TCG when those cards came out of why they're so powerful. The fact that you can decide whether hey, this can be my starter, but it can also, if I already have a starter, I can also turn this into an Appaloosa. I can bait out their hand traps. I can bait out their interactions. It's it's just it just does so much for these combo decks.
Yeah, I think the Fiendsmith stuff is really cool and fun to play with, but I mean, you just start putting them in these like meta decks that have all these synergies, and
Yeah.
it's just so much of high ranked Master Duel just turns into like watching people like throw hand traps at each other, praying that they just didn't draw the out, basically.
Yeah. No,
And
100%.
it's sad. Uh, just haven't been enjoying the ranked experience at all right now.
Mm. I from my perspective, ranked specifically has been fine because I feel like a lot of people think like you and a lot of people just don't want to play Snake Eyes. No, genuinely, I think people are not that hype about playing another season of Snake Eye. And so my experience laddering from like Diamond to Master has been not that much Snake Eye. Um, which is kind of cool. So I found it to be still possible to ladder with other decks and still having a fine time. I mean, of course, you're gonna have some Snake Eyes, but it's not like every game. I think in
Mm.
Duelist Cup is when it's gonna be overwhelming. When people try hard, that's when they bring out those decks. I think when people just trying to have a good time and ladder up to Masters, I think it's fine. It's never like too crazy the representation of any single deck, but for the Duelist Cup, I'm a little worried. Like it might just be everywhere.
Have you looked at Tachyon at all?
I'm familiar with the cards. I've played against it a couple of times, and it looked kind of cool. I actually lost to one of them because they just randomly have that really powerful counter trap that they can just activate from hand, and it's just straight up better than Solemn Judgment, and not once per turn. And they searched like three of them things. So they just had three Omni Negates in hand, which was pretty scary.
Yeah, I was thinking about building it and testing it a little bit just for fun, but
Mm.
God, I don't know. It's just so many ultra rares and stuff for like, the 14th best Yu-Gi-Oh deck. it's
Yeah, I haven't dismantled them when I pulled them when I opened the pack,
okay.
so I might still try it. I haven't tried it myself yet, but I've been wanting to look into it.
Is there any generic things you can do with that stuff? Like, I mean, seventh Tachyon, obviously we can talk about that in a second, but
Yeah.
I don't know what else you can really do with that in
I mean, depends
armor.
what you think of generic, because like for the most part, I think all the good cards lock you into Dragon Exceeds.
Hmm.
So it is pretty self-contained with like the most generic stuff. It is like Hope Harbinger, but that's like technically a Galaxy card. So
Hmm. Is Tachyon that bad? There's a lot of people in chat downplaying how good it is. Like, it can't be that bad, right?
it is not that bad. It really is not. It's just that your typical new support combo deck type thing where if it goes first and pulls off its combo, it's probably winning. And going second, it has your typical combo deck problems. And if it's hit by a Droll or a Fuva or Maxi, it has its typical going first problems. It's just overall pretty solid, but it also does not do anything in particular better than other combo decks, I think.
Wait, apparently there's an FTK for it, at least in TCG.
People said that there might be. I haven't met it yet. Like whenever they went first against me, they were like, "Look out, there might be an FTK here," and I just haven't seen it. I assume it has something to do with the Dracalubion summoning out that thing that gets like infinite attack points.
Oh, it's something to do with Turtle. Oh, but I guess that's
Yeah,
not Master Duel legal,
I
right?
think the turtle is banned, so it's like only theoretical in TCG.
Apparently, in Master Duel, you can transverser for Numeron Dragon, and then Infection Buzz King burns for 85. Huh?
Sure.
How are you swapping
At
though?
the
What
same
you?
time, if that deck goes first and gets that far, it could have also just been searching three counter traps that say negate and Hope Harbinger, and you're
Yeah.
probably
So it's an
fine.
FTK deck, regardless of which way you want to do
Kind of,
it.
yeah, kind of. It's just I think the other deck has a higher likelihood of being okay into hand traps. Like, yeah, sure, you get hit with one or two hand traps, maybe you still have a chance to set up like one of the counter traps and have a winning game anyways, because your opponent has spent two hand traps and you can like use one of your non-engine and a counter trap to get to the next turn and stuff like that. I doubt the other deck has great plan Bs like that.
Oh wait, so Tachyon can search seventh Tachyon, and then seventh Tachyon gets you any card in the game, basically, right? That's how that works.
Well, it,
Appar-
it it doesn't get any card in the game because it is limited in some shape or form. I don't know exactly. It doesn't have all the attributes or all the levels available.
I mean, you're gonna find some stuff, right? Like you can search Catapult Turtle with seven Tachyon.
Yeah, because it's
So,
the. I think that's because there's number 101 honor arc, and then the rank up one of that one is rank 5, which is level 5 water
Mhm.
that you can add from seventh Tachyon.
So speaking about seventh Tachyon in Macedon, I don't know if you've run into a lot of stun recently, but I'm seeing a lot of stun now. Like,
Okay. Yes, absolutely. I'll say I don't think seventh Tachyon is the reason for that.
okay,
I think the reason is straight up what we've talked about so far is that
hmm
people do not want to like, you know,
engage.
Snake Eye, White Forest, Azamina, Fiendsmith format. The people are going to be summoning Pachycephalosaurus in that. Like we could have always expected that. That would be happening regardless of seventh Tachyon.
Oh
If a
wait,
super powerful combo
I
deck
just
exists.
remembered something. Did you see the top rated decks for the last season?
I did look at it. I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly what was where, but
Well,
I
so
know there was a stun deck.
there was two stun decks in top 10.
Yeah.
That's
I think
crazy.
that's just that's a combination of they win when they go first against the combo decks, and then Tenpai just sends them first. So like overall,
Well,
you
there was
end
only
up with
one
like
Tenpai in top 10.
yeah, but like people play that deck, and I genuinely think that's why they kind of work right now. Because against everything else, they have a 50% win rate, but Tenpai is the one that tips it towards over 50, and that's why they can climb.
Dude, what if we did
So
like a three
in
day
some way,
grind?
shape, it's always Tenpai's fault, no matter how you think about it.
Some way we've dragged Tenpai into this, true.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
find a way.
it's how about we do like a 3 day DC Cup grind and it's just you just play stun, just that's it, just 3 days of
I would
stun.
it genuinely there's like so many stun games that I win against them because it's like they're playing it and they're not playing it super well. I feel like if someone who's actually good built stun really well and actually didn't make the mistakes with it, it'd be kind of a menace.
What kind of mistakes can you make with stun?
Dude, they'll find a way.
Like just judgmenting the wrong things or something?
Dude, I had someone. What was it? What was the last thing that happened? It was like someone attacking my Snake Eyes Diabell Star with something that just put their stun monster into the spell trap zone.
It's just
Stuff like that. It'll just happen. I don't remember exactly what it was. Like they'll find a way.
Uh, yeah, it'll be really curious to see what the metagame looks like in the top ranks of the Duelist Cup. Like I'm very much looking forward to seeing um well, I mean, who's tryharding it for sure? Like I know Mike Thomas is almost always streaming that.
Yeah.
Is and yeah, I assume no one in Jesse's team is going to do it seriously.
I
Uh
think Ryan is gonna do it.
yeah, well, Ryan always like ums and ahs, so
Bro, he won the last one, didn't he? Or got second?
I don't remember. Well, he doesn't stream it anyway, so
Yeah. I mean,
um
Judeo is probably gonna be there. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's gonna be people. I think.
Oh, Emre's going for it? Okay. God, Emery's not gonna have a good time. Like I know Emery. He will get annoyed and bored after
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
day one.
yeah, for sure. No,
Uh,
I'll take some time next week to test and prepare and figure out if I want to do it. But there's a high chance that my competitive itch just kind of will force me to.
mhm.
Um, but I'll see.
Well, make sure you cook up a good stun list for me, okay? I'll take that and report back. Uh, let's talk about TCG.
Yeah.
We've got new cards. We
Hmm.
don't normally talk about new cards on the podcast because they are just usually a bunch of pack fill and stuff. But I think there's like 2 rounds of cards here that are actually sort of worth getting into.
Hmm. And when you say new cards, do you mean Maze of the Master just came out, or cards that were announced for future sets?
Yeah, I guess I am talking about future sets.
Okay, okay. So which ones
So,
are you referring to?
so the first one that I thought was interesting to talk about is this new K9 deck. And
Hmm.
they have run with this. So rather than just going over all of the cards, which we will assume most of you have read by now. If not, pause the
Yeah,
podcast, go read them real quick.
yeah.
But basically, the one thing that I found that was interesting about this deck is they are kind of going in that direction of in-engine hand traps and playing during your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
So basically, this deck can do like a pseudo shock lock of making pair of dice smasher. You,
Okay, well,
you're
I,
probably not going to actually do that.
yeah.
But you can set up your new boss monster type of thing, like it's rank 5. It's called Ripper. You can summon this turn 1 with your first starter. As Zuna, I think her name is. Special summons from your hand, and then it dumps a card. And then when your opponent activates a card or effect, that brings itself back, and you just immediately Xyz summon. So you go for a rank
It's
5 turn 1, and you just kind of
yeah.
set up your turn, and it tries to kind of punish your opponent for hand trapping you.
It's a pretty cool concept because the way they trigger is your opponent has to activate a monster effect in hand or graveyard. So it's not like just it's basically the opposite of Havness if you think about it because Havness was only on the field.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, you'll summon out the Izuna. It sends one from the deck to the graveyard, but it's a little more specific and a little bit easier to play around because it works in 2 steps, I believe, right? Because they both do they trigger? Let me hold up before I yap
Yeah, so it triggers
uncontrollably.
on activation of like a hand trap, and then on
But they
summon it
trigger, right?
sends
It's not
one.
like if your opponent has done this before, you can now do this.
Yeah, there's definitely a trigger.
Yeah, so they have to do it twice, right? They have to trigger the first one. They have to trigger Izuna to summon itself and send one from deck to grave, and then they have to do another one to trigger the one you've sent to the graveyard.
Oh wait, no, actually, it is just like they can just kind of hold it. If your opponent activate a monster effect in the hand or grave this turn, you can so you can
Okay.
kind of just
Yep.
wait.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
it's the same with the with Lupus, which is when he's sent to the graveyard, he brings himself back, and then you just link summon. Like at some
Okay.
point during the turn, you just choose to do that.
Yeah. Oh, no. No. Now I remember why it needs to be 2. Because you have to wait for your opponent to do one before you can make the rank 5. But then the way the rank 5 interrupts your opponent is when your opponent activates a monster effect in hand or graveyard, quick effect, detach a material, negate that effect. So you have to wait for them to activate one, then you can summon the rank 5, then you have to wait for them to use another one, and then you can negate that.
Yeah, so it isn't like game breakingly powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but depending on the deck and how much it requires to
Yeah.
actually play the game by activating cards in the hand and grave, which I mean that is potentially a lot of decks in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
You can kind of slowly set up your monster for your turn, or even just negate a card.
It's a pretty fun concept. It also does not need to be a canine rank 5, so they can make other rank 5s. Like can't wait to summon to get Durandal with a drone and lockbird in hand. But
Imagine.
they can make any rank 5. It's not locked to canine.
I think it's like, is it lights or something they can't Xyz summon?
They have like a random restriction on one or two of them where it says cannot be used as a material for the Xyz summon of specifically a light monster. Which I wonder why they put that there. Do you think it's
Yeah.
because of Paradise Smasher?
I mean, it's a stretch, but I think it's something to do with the lore and like Moonlight and like their wolves or something.
Oh,
I
okay,
might be
but why are there
stretching
only 2
here.
of them? Maybe.
I'm
I
not
was looking
sure.
at it from a gameplay perspective, but maybe that's the
I guess because they didn't want it to be generic, maybe. Because then, like, you
or
could wait Infinity. I don't know. Wait, I don't think you can summon Infinity.
I mean, to be fair, there is a lot of like randomly rank 5s that are the most powerful ones are just randomly lights, right? You can't do Durandal, Drone and Lockbird, can't do Paradise Smasher, like that kind of stuff. Maybe
Hmm.
play 80s is also very powerful rank 5, I suppose.
Yeah. But yeah, no. What do you think about this idea of like, all right, we're just gonna give you like your starters or just quick effects that you could just use on your
I
opponent's turn?
I like it. I like it because I mean I've said this every time basically ever we've talked about this topic. I really think that is one of the ways how they can make Yu-Gi-Oh more interactive on the very first turn because I think Yu-Gi-Oh is inherently a very interactive game except for that player going first being able to set up their board uninterrupted unless there is specific hand traps and I think if we want to get away from every deck having to play 18 hand traps to compete with certain combo decks, I think you need to put like certain just even if it's just small interruptions on main deck monsters like on engine monsters, they don't have to be as crazy as like an Ash Blossom or an Nibiru or something like that, but just like a little thing that like speeds you up a little bit, gets your engine going a little bit earlier, and it gives you a small little interruption, I think is pretty cool. And whether that's in the form of being able to make a rank 5 or whether that's in the form of just hey this monster has a bonus effect like Havness or like the Sword Soul Ecclesia where it just means like you're going second you get it as a free special summon instead of it being a normal summon. Those sort of things I think are great steps into a direction where Yu-Gi-Oh is just as interactive as it can be because no one is just popping off first turn completely uninterrupted all the time. Because that's just the thing. Yu-Gi-Oh decks just will do crazy things when they go interrupted. I think that is something we're not getting rid of anytime soon. Like a lot of decks will have crazy potential when going uninterrupted. So I think being able to interact is just always a good thing.
I think Yu-Gi-Oh can be kind of summarized in sort of different chapters throughout its history, right? Like you can have like 2014 into like Link summoning into like 2020 Power Spike, Power of the Elements. Like there's different like eras of this game. And I think
Mhm.
that this has the potential, if they keep making archetypes like this, um, to take us into a different direction. Where Yu-Gi-Oh!
Postmodern, huh?
Like a postmodern era,
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of the starter cards and stuff in future design decks could just be quick effects, right? Like we might just see Yu-Gi-Oh! Go into the direction of having you just play on your opponent's turn now, right? Like all of those tier mirrors that we talked about so much and are so vaunted in the community as being amazing mirrors and great gameplay. Like if they take that blueprint and move it forward with various archetypes from now, I mean,
Mm.
that's good, either good or bad, regardless of what you think it is. It's a big decision, and it
Yeah.
needs to be super handled with care, because it could be one of those like you think you do what you don't type of situations, right? Like it's one of those like game design versus player type of situations of
Yeah.
we want something, but is that good for the player base? Is that
Mm-hmm.
good for the game itself? You know, and
Yeah.
I just hope that if this is the turn zero hand trap gameplay that they want to go down, it needs to be really tested properly before it kind of Yu-Gi-Oh commits to that.
Yeah. I don't know if it's ever gonna be something that's just like the standard for every archetype to have a bunch of cards like that. Um, but I just think it does a lot for the game if there's just every archetype has like just a few of those cards, maybe one or two,
That's how
because
it starts, Josh. That's how it starts.
yeah,
Just a few, just
yeah,
one little starter, dude. Then it's
yeah, okay,
two. You know,
yeah,
then it's two. Then it's tier limit mirrors, right? Like,
sure. Okay. I mean, yeah, but what you're saying makes sense, I think, because Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, of course, we have gone through a process from like the average number of turns until a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game is decided has gone down. So I think naturally you kind of have to do this. Either you have to increase the number of turns, or you have to increase the number of cards that can interact on the first turn of the game, because otherwise you're going to have a problem where games end very quickly and the player going first has a huge advantage, which is kind of what we're experiencing in recent years in some formats. It's not like that every format. There's formats where the end boards are a little weaker, but generally the earlier the player going second can interact, I think the better it is for decks not popping off on turn one and just auto winning.
yeah, I mean, I agree, right? Like it makes sense just mathematically. There's less turns in Yu-Gi-Oh, so you need to create a way to make more interactivity because there's just less
Yeah.
turns, and how you do that is just, I guess, this type of design philosophy. So, um, we'll see if we'll be getting Paradise Smashers in a couple months. Uh, some other new cards, I suppose, that are interesting. I don't know how passionate you are about this. Monarchs just got a whole new wave of support. I feel like anyone celebrating Monarch support is insane. I think you're a sheep cheering on wolves. No one should be excited for all of these cards. Do this, by the way. The deck, if you've read all of these new cards, this deck just searches and summons Majesty's Fiend, protects it, and locks you out with Erupt. No one except Lithium should be excited for this.
And even Lithium is crazy for it.
I
No,
don't know what
that
your take is on this. I'm not looking forward to this.
Okay, I think you're right. I think for me personally, while you said this, I realized that Monarchs for me is the same analogy I made earlier to Mermail, where I love OG Monarchs. I loved the old concept of like Caius, Ryza, Mobius, even Zaborg, like some of my favorite
Are we
cards from
talking like
back
old
in the
old
day.
monarchs? Or are we
No, we're
talking
talking
like
not the mega monarchs. We're talking the monarchs. Like that. I loved those cards as a kid, and that's why whenever I see new monarch support, the artworks I vibe with. I think the cards are cool. But you are right. From a modern perspective, the deck is most likely to just be used as like a toxic stun deck, and is the same with like Mermail and Atlantean, where I'm just like, some things are just better left in the past. I loved Mermail in 2013. That deck does not work like that anymore. That deck has been turned into a combo pile that I don't like anymore, and the Monarchs have been turned into a stun deck that I don't like anymore. So I think what you're saying is fair.
Have you seen the really funny combo with Tessera, the new Squire?
No, what does it do?
So it special summons a monster from your deck with 800 attack and 1000 defense.
Oh, is it Snake Eye Ash?
It summons Snake Eye Ash for no reason.
When does it do that? When you, but you're locked out of your extra deck, aren't
You
you?
are locked out of the extra deck,
Okay.
hilariously.
Yeah.
So obviously that, I guess,
Dude,
makes a lot of sense.
imagine if it didn't lock you out of your extra deck and they just accidentally brought back Snake Eyes.
Yeah, wow, that's just what we're missing. But like someone posted a combo on Twitter. I don't know if you saw like the funny song. I've been jamming to it like twice per stream for the last week. I gotta send it to you after. But basically,
Well,
you
I've
summon.
heard you jam along. I haven't heard the actual song, but you just kept
Oh,
singing like "Summon Poplar."
activate your poplar, search out your. It's so good. But basically, because it's like extra deck locked, you still end on like Flamberge with Diabell and like a set like Silvera, because I think you search like Dramatic Chase or something at some point with the
Yeah, yeah.
Poplar,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. So you still can do some Snake Eye stuff hilariously. If you really want to, you can still play Snake Eye in 2025 in TCG.
Uh,
But
you
yeah, no,
shouldn't.
I don't know what to say about these cards. I think this is not cool. The trap card is insanely like crazy cool though. Have you
Yeah,
read it? Oh my god, it's
yeah.
every Monarch card is
Dude,
on the trap.
I, I went crazy at that. I was so happy when I read it. It
This
put
is
me in a
cool.
really happy place.
Yeah, like this is cool. Like doing this stuff is cool, right?
Yeah.
Activating domain, not so much.
Yeah, I heard some people say some real cool stuff like they should have given Monarchs an incentive to use the extra deck more, like because that would discourage people from doing like domain and erupt and stuff like that, which is like I don't really want to play against that. So like give them reasons to use the extra deck, I think would have been
Mm.
cool. But they did not. So
And it's amazing how much I played this deck. Um, back in the quote unquote new version of Monarchs with like the Emperor of
mhm.
Darkness structure deck. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed that deck. It was fun, and playing with the extra deck was great.
yeah.
Um, but it's only until now, like after watching some Lithium videos, where I realized, wait a minute, Erebus isn't once per turn because you just never had the tribute fodder, really.
Yeah.
So you're like tribute summoning Erebus twice a turn. So you're playing through hand traps, then you're looping your opponent, then you're setting up like his first replay, he like plays through two hand traps, loops two cards, ends on domain. So the opponent is domain locked and has two cards at the start of their turn. Who is
Dude.
celebrating this? Why are people excited for this?
Ah, yes, shenanigans.
Literal shenanigans. All right, as you're watching this podcast, YCS Vegas is currently underway. Hope you guys are enjoying the live stream. It's been awesome to see all of the coverage being produced right now. So, do you have any predictions and stuff for this? What are your thoughts?
uh, I hmm.
I think I know what Triff and his team are playing, which I'm not gonna say now. But if he is doing what he said he would do, oh, I'm really excited. I hope so.
Okay.
Um, but I just DM'd it to you. So hopefully that'll come
Oh,
to
okay.
fruition.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not
and
that crazy.
come on, that's like, come. All right. Anyway, whatever.
It's
Um,
not that crazy.
it is. It is. Shut up. Don't listen to him, Chad. I'll tell you. I'll tell you after. Syriax is going to be going to the 3v3, which is
Oh,
crazy.
really?
He's been prepped and he's been trained by Pac and Sam. So if anyone's going to get you into the game and sped up and ready to win an event, like that's some good coaching right there. So I'm
Who's
hoping
gonna
he does
play?
well.
Who's gonna play the Slifer deck and the Obelisk deck next to him?
Yeah, I think they just have to like find the highest attack in the extra deck or something. Put him face down, do a little shuffle. You can pick. But I don't know what they're playing, but as far as I'm concerned, like Syriax of all people, he's not playing Ra. He's playing a actual genuine meta deck. He's gonna be up there with Pac.
Nah, that man will not summon an Ice Riseal. I'm telling you that. There's
Dude,
no
can
way
you
that man's
imagine
activating a Fiendsmith Engraver.
Syriax like activating Engraver? Like that just doesn't sound right, right?
Dude. If Syriax, if I play against Syriax in a tournament and he like blind scoops game one, I'm citing out all my answers to meta decks. Anyways, like I don't care.
So I don't think there's anything particularly new for this one, right? I believe.
I mean, it is
'Cause-
Maze of the Master. I did
Oh,
come
sure,
out.
sure, sure,
So
sure.
like
Yeah. So you've been dying to
the
talk about
seventh
this. I think. Go on, tell
the
us.
seventh Tachyon is actually like way more impactful in the TCG than it is in Master Duel right now. Funnily enough, because they've decided to release it earlier in Master Duel when it doesn't make a lot of sense yet, because there's not many great search targets for it. But the in TCG, that card is phenomenal in specifically Ryziel, which of course is already um, the best deck, arguably, and having access to a slight little consistency boost is pretty good for it. My personal prediction is that it's not going to be a 3 of in most Ryziel decks. I mean, first of all, it does mainly boost pure Ryziel because it does lock you into the into XYZs, so you're not going to play it in Fiendsmith Ryziel. But it will help out pure Ryziel with a little bit of its consistency issues, right? Like pure Ryziel really appreciates a couple extra starters, and I think as long as Bonfire is a 3 of, you are not going to play. I don't think you're going to play 3 Bonfire and 3 7th Tachyon. Maybe you will, but because 7th Tachyon is a -1, maybe people are going to settle for like 1 or 2. Um, but once Bonfire potentially gets hit, I think 7th Tachyon is pretty crazy for Ryziel as a replacement.
Hasn't Triff been like making videos like talking about how if you played Seven Tachyon, you're stupid and all that, Triff's shenanigans? I'm pretty sure he's
I think
very
that's
anti Tachyon.
subjective, basically,
Okay.
because they're obviously right. Pure Ryziel is already a very good deck right now, so you could argue the consistency the deck has at the moment is sufficient, which I think is not wrong. Like it's kind of like a high risk, high reward kind of strategy to not play 7 Tachyon because that card is a -1, and you could just be saying like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna play the deck like it was before, not play this -1 Rhoda, and just hope I don't break. And then the reward for it is you get more room for non-engine in other cards, and that's a reasonable decision to make too. I think though there's some people out there that are just like less risk what's the word when you're happy to take risks?
Risk averse?
That's the opposite, right?
Oh, no,
They
no,
are
that's the opposite. Yeah. You are spicy, I guess.
okay, yeah, it's risk averse and the opposite is spicy. Okay, so there's people that are less spicy and they don't prefer
No, more
bricking, and they
spicy.
more well. Okay, so if you want to brick less, does that make you more spicy or less spicy?
You're less spicy, obviously.
You're less spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh well, if you're trying to avoid it, then you are risk averse.
Yes, but my sentence began with they are less.
Okay, now we're going into like double negatives. All right, whatever. Anyway, make your point.
I forgot my point.
I forgot. Okay, tell us about Maze of the Master. What do you think of the new trap deck?
I think it's cool. I was hoping for less fusion monsters personally.
that is really random, admittedly, but they're quite easy to summon.
I understand it kind of makes sense because Temple of the King mentions fusion monsters. I still it just kind of hit that nerve for me where I just hate when a TCG exclusive archetype comes out and there's like a couple really good cards, and then for some reason we're using up some of those valuable slots for a fusion spell and 2 fusion monsters where one of the fusion monsters does not even get summoned by the fusion spell. It has an alternate summoning mechanic that would I just I don't know. I liked the idea behind making that sort of thing a deck, and then it's just like here's a fusion monster, here's a fusion spell, and here's a card that summons the Winged Dragon of Ra, and I'm like, no.
Hey, come on! It blows up the whole field and summons Ra. That's.
Okay, dude.
I think the fusions are, admittedly, they're like more like turn 3-5 type of things, right?
I mean, I got no issue with the one that's like tribute 2 of the continuous trap monsters, and then you summon it, and then you set 3 back, which I think is a really cool payoff for like a continuous trap deck, where they're like trying, because that's a real payoff in a grind game, right? If you can just put 2 of them from your monster zone into the grave to summon a fusion monster that resets 3 of them, you get like more traps, and you get to activate them again to get their benefits again. Like that was a really cool payoff for playing that archetype in like a grindy style. So I really like that. Um, I don't know why that needed a fusion spell and another fusion monster though. Like you've done your thing. You've added a fusion monster to it. Like be happy. Why is there a fusion spell?
So I think a lot of the shall we say, groundwork has sort of been laid for this deck, right? There is just a lot of good trap cards, trap monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like Statue of Anguish Pattern, as especially, that's so good, right?
Yeah.
And I think like what they've done now is essentially just give you a consistent way to get to them.
I wouldn't. I would. I don't know if I agree with. There's already enough of that. I feel like one more couldn't have been bad. You know.
yeah, I mean, fair enough.
Well, one more than the one they're already getting. They are getting one, which is pretty good. But like, there's no shot you're saying like, oh, they already got Statue of Anguish pattern. That's good. Job's done.
Well, no, but it's just because like this really gives you consistent ways to get to those really good
Yeah.
cards, and
Yeah.
gets you, and you get to recycle them. So I don't
It's
think.
cool. It's really cool. But why is there a fusion spell?
Listen, every TCG exclusive, is it TCG exclusive?
Yes, that's why
It
it's
is, yeah,
funny.
yeah. So every TCG exclusive that just has to keep giving fusion cards. All right, it's just tradition at this point. B Troopers, you
Yeah,
look at that link summoning mechanic, you look at the link
dude.
2 that, and you just think to yourself, you know what, this is missing a 5 material fusion boss monster. It's just
Dude,
tradition at this point.
I cannot wait for the Ritual Monster Legacy Paleo support. It's gonna be so hype.
Paleo fusion monster. Yeah, contact fusing by using, shall we say, 2 banished paleo traps. That could be cool.
Dude, that'd be so sick.
Yeah.
That gave you an actual reason to make Canberra Raster.
I don't even know what you
Dude,
just said. That was a noise. Is that the link?
it's the link, which is
Yeah.
really bad because all your Paleos get banished instead of going to the graveyard, so it makes no sense. Like you normally don't make it. So
What
like
is
maybe you're cooking. Maybe we need something that can like return 2 banished Paleos to the graveyard to summon itself from the extra deck and do crazy shit.
Yo, Phantom of Paleo? That's insane. What are all the paleo names? Like the bad ones? There's what the attack modulation one. There's
I
hallucigenia.
don't
I
know what
think
you're
that
talking about. There are no bad ones.
true, true, true. The less
There's
played ones.
Hallucigania,
That's the half one, right?
Avs. There
And there's a double
is
one.
Eldonia. No, no,
Eldonia.
dude. It'd be fine if it doubled.
Wait, what does it
It'd still
do?
be terrible. You know, it does give plus 500.
Hey, listen, that's like Reshef of Destruction stats, dude. It's like. Okay. So where are we at? Sorry. Yeah, we're talking about TCGs. Yeah. So man with the mark. Yeah, man is here. He's setting trap cards.
Man is marking, yeah.
Do you think this deck is gonna be? Do you think it's like YCS topping viable?
I'm leaning towards no. I'm leaning towards it could have been if those 1 to 2 extra slots that they gave to the Fusion Monster and Rock Card were actual like good cards. Because I feel like they're not giving me enough payoff for playing a slow trap deck, and not enough tools to actually slow down the game in to a certain pace without just flipping floodgates. Like we needed another, like maybe a way for a trap deck to go second, maybe a really good trap that you can set into established boards or something like that, or maybe play more with that, like because the whole thing with Temple of the Kings is being able to activate traps immediately when they're set. So like maybe give them more of that to be able to break boards like that by making your trap cards just a little faster, essentially, like being able to set them and activating them immediately to deal with boards could have been a way for this deck to compete going second. I think right now especially is a bad time for it because like have fun summoning trap monsters into Ryziel Detonator. So I think if anything, you're gonna have to wait a moment until that works.
Hey, listen, you can just transform man into a bigger man, which is Typhon, you know, and then set 5. That's pretty good into Ryziel.
So you're gonna summon the man and not use its effect.
I guess they would just, yeah, why not? Yeah, summon the man. Don't use the
Okay,
effect.
summon the man.
I summon the man. I bounce your detonator. I punch your duo drive. I set 5.
Okay.
It's an interesting deck for sure. It's a different take, and I think someone in chat mentioned it's probably maybe the best way to describe it. They just sort of haven't really topped Labyrinth when it comes to trap design decks in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I think there is potential here. I don't think it's anywhere near unplayable as anyone thinks, or some people are trying to suggest.
I don't think these cards are bad at all. I think they're good. The question is just, is there enough good cards to make that a deck yet? Which is the thing I'm doubting. But I think those are definitely good cards. The field spell is exactly what I'm talking about. Like the field spell, that gives me a reason to play a grindy trap deck because it like that card gives you 2 cards immediately, and then an additional card every turn you can like survive and grind with your opponent. Like I that's a reason to play a deck like that. You
I
know, like
think
on activation, add one, and then if you have 2 sets, you can add another card. Like that's great.
I think it might be one of the most powerful field spells like in the game ever. Like just in terms of the context of its like the deck that it's made for, like it's unbelievable. It just does so
Yeah,
much.
it's very, very good.
I was gonna talk a little bit about Yummy and Cupsy, I suppose, since we were talking about some new cards, but you do have to leave soon, right?
I mean, we can have like 10, 15 minutes. It's all right.
Yeah, so praising all of the cool canine things that they did, we're now
Yeah.
getting the dessert deck, which I think is tradition at this point. Like every couple of years, we'll just get
We
something
got
really.
canine for dinner and yummy for dessert.
Wait, do you eat wolf? Like,
No,
bro's eating
yeah.
wolf meat.
I just ran with it.
So we've got Yummy, and I don't know if you've checked out some of the gameplay. It doesn't look fun to play against, at least. It's
I haven't
giving me
seen any
Snake Eye
replays,
vibes.
but is it just basically spamming level 1 dudes?
Bro, it's just a Cyberse deck, but like your
Oh,
sync, but your
I love
synchros.
those.
Yeah, I know you love those. It's just a Cyberse deck, basically. It's so crazy. Every card is like a one card engine, one card combo. I'm pretty sure Sky Striker drones by itself does full combo and plays through Nib.
Because they're freaking what is their synchros can use link ones as if they are level 1 tuners or some shit like that.
Something like that. Yeah, you're just it's a cool concept. Don't get me wrong. Like it
It's a
sounds
cool
like
concept.
this is like a Reddit post deck. It's like what if Master 06 we could link with our synchros or synchro with our links or something, right? Like it's literally just a Reddit post. But it's cool, right? But the
Yeah.
direction they've taken is ridiculous. It turbos into like Herald of the Arclight to protect you,
Mhm.
while setting up like 4 disruptions, layered disruptions. I think they have like a book and like multiple pops. Um, yeah, I don't know. This deck, I think this is going to be the new meta deck once they kill the current meta. 6 months from now, or whatever. I'm very sure that this will be like the new softer version of Snake Eye. It's not quite up there. It's not that powerful.
Yeah.
But it is a very good one card combo deck.
I guess we'll see because I personally I can't say anything to this because I haven't looked into the nitty gritty. Like I've looked at the cards, I've seen some of the concepts. I thought the cards themselves were cool, but I haven't really explored like crazy things you can do outside of the own archetype. Um, so we'll have to see about that. I do think it is definitely worth noting that this is just another one of those. It's crazy how powerful these side sets have become. In the OCG, they're called deck building packs because
Hmm.
the last one was crossover breakers, and that gave us Ryziel and Malice. And this one has Canine, Yummy, and Dragon Tails, which all three of them are looking pretty decent, honestly. And Yummy even apparently completely broken. So it's kind of funny how we have like main sets releasing that people just go like, it's all right. And then there's a deck build pack, and it's just 3 archetypes, and they're like almost all bangers, except for Ryuga. We don't talk about Ryuga.
What was the Dragon Tail deck again? What is it? Is that
So
the
the
fusion
Dragon
one?
Tail gimmick is it's the fusion one. Yeah, it's
Right.
supposed to
Okay.
be K9 is supposed to be Xyz focused, Yummy is synchros, and Dragon Tail is fusions, and Dragon Tail has its own branded fusion.
Oh,
But
nice. We needed more of
but
those.
the concept it's actually fine because it's branded fusion but balanced because all of the Dragon Tail fusion monsters, one of the materials says it has to be a monster in your hand. So like the branded fusion is only half a branded fusion because you do have to use one of them from your hand. So I think it's like branded fusion the way it maybe should have worked, you could argue. So it's cool. You still get one material for free from your deck. And all of they have like spell traps that recycle each other so you never run out and you don't have to play multiple copies. And the all of the Dragon Tails, when they're used as fusion material, you can set a trap or spell from your deck. And it's like they got like a bounce and a pop and something like that. It's pretty neat.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know what the idea with that is. Like, if you just make like multiple meta decks in your deck build pack every time you make a deck build pack, and then also core sets have to be sold, like, I don't know. Like, either we end up with like 10 decks competitively viable in the format again, or
Mhm.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah, but that's what's been happening a lot, right? A lot of stuff comes out and just finds a home immediately in like tier 2.
mhm,
Like you're thinking like I don't know, like the mermail support and something like that. Like that wasn't bad at all. It wasn't the best deck in the game. It's just like it's just here now and it's definitely playable. You look at I don't know, Memento, a lot of other decks that just like come out are are good, but are not good enough to be considered the best, but like people definitely top with them.
mm,
So I don't know. I think that itself is like fine as long as the decks are fun. I think it's alright.
yep.
Crystron, yeah, that sort of stuff. It's just like a lot of decks come out, are viable, but not the best, and that's just kind of how it goes with a lot of these.
Yeah. Which is fine, I suppose. Like, maybe that's like where you want to see those decks, right? Because we had this like whole debate and discussion a couple weeks ago, maybe at this point, where we're saying like, this new Six Samurai support. Like, what format is this supposed to be for? Like where do you play this in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Because the way
Mm,
of Yu-Gi-Oh being set up with one single competitive format, um, in a way that's kind of fine because you have your meta decks and then you have all of these decks, right? Like they're just strong rogue decks, I
yeah.
suppose. I don't know.
I think it's also I think they're releasing stronger archetypes in these side sets because I feel like a bigger portion of main sets is reserved for legacy support these days. That definitely wasn't a thing a couple years ago where like every single set would bring us I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's been like that because we've been getting legacy support for a long time, but it just feels like currently, like every set, we're expecting multiple waves of different legacy support. So like naturally, if they want to release new archetypes, they can't fit it all in one main set.
one day, one day
And the
we'll
lore
get.
stuff is also taking up a lot of space, right? Like it's like ever since they started doing like a lore deck for like an entire year with like multiple sub archetypes, uh, taking up a lot of room in main sets.
Yeah, no, for sure. Um, I think that is a good endpoint here.
Yeah.
We should probably do a ban list discussion most likely next week because if
What do you mean?
anything,
It's definitely dropping during the Vegas live stream.
well, I mean, so this is the interesting precedent Konami has set. They have released Forbidden Limit List. The last one was announced and revealed at an event. The
Yeah.
problem is there is no broadcasted events for how long now? What's the next broadcasted event we're getting?
It's in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Wait, which one?
YCS Houston.
Oh, is it that soon?
It's like first week of April. That's when I predicted it's gonna happen because I thought I said they were gonna redo it like that. I said they were gonna drop it during another YCS, and I think Houston is the most likely one because that's the beginning of April, and I think that's good timing.
Well,
But I also I think it's a little dangerous because if they do it again at a YCS, people are just gonna expect it to continue like this forever, and like every time there's gonna be a YCS and they don't want to drop a ban list right now, people are gonna be pissed.
well, alternatively, if they don't drop a ban list at an a YCS that seems appropriately timed,
Mhm.
then they've sort of just done this one thing and then that's it. Like it's just gonna
Yeah.
confuse us forever. So
Do you know what? Do you know? Can you think of a crazy like suggestion to stop people from being confused and guessing when the list is gonna happen?
I don't know, maybe some sort of like announcement or some sort of like communication, well, like a,
Yeah, no,
it's,
no, no, okay, that's crazy talk. I feel like we should end it on that. I feel like now we're just derailing into completely insane stuff. So
this is like we might as well be just talking about custom cards at this point.
that's yeah, that's just not helpful at all, dude.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in again. Big apologies for the delay of this one. Life finds a way. As mentioned, next week will be something ban list related. Kind of makes sense, I suppose. Although if it
Yeah,
is Houston, perhaps maybe next week can be like a Vegas recap if we find some people on, and then the one after that maybe can be ban list. We'll see.
yeah,
And then we'll try and work on the Patreon questions into that as well with regards to ban list hits and stuff like that. Can't
yeah.
wait to talk about Duel Links ban list and ratios and stuff again. That's going to be fun. But yeah, thanks guys for tuning in as always to the heart of the cast. Discord is in the description if you want to sign up to the Heart of the Cast Discord. And goodbye. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye bye.